Hi there. Now we're going to talk about something called maintaining identification and maintaining a resonance. All right, here we go. How do I find the right resonance? All right. Now I've got a throat. It's only mine, and nobody else sounds like me. If we all do exactly the same thing in our throats, I will sound like me, and you will sound like you. If I change the shape of my throat and go, oh, that's not my natural resonance, is it? See, I changed my throat. How about, is that my natural throat, or did I go, see? How do I find my natural throat? Because I won't find my natural tone, my true resonance, until I can get the heck out of the way and stop doing anything. Now, we have other complications. One is never sing to the nasal cavity, because the nasal sounds don't carry. So if you're like me, you came from the Southwest, you've been sort of talking like that all the time. How are you doing? That's sort of our accent. Yeah, they're all Irish and Scots and Welsh in that part of the country that I come from, of ancestry. So everybody says, you know, how y'all doing? You want to go downtown to get something to eat? See? Now, I had to learn to talk, so I had to walk around like this for 4.5 years. Hello, how are you? And I finally had to do it. It's one of the old Vic training tools for teaching elocution if you want to be a Shakespearean actor. But the idea is when I go, hello, how are you today? I've got to make the room to be able to make the words so you can understand me. And I can't use my nose at all, you know, it's just not nasal at all. Now, if I can find a word to use as my model word, and that will give me my natural resonance, that's what I vocalize on. That's what I warm up, and then I try to match it. So the consonant B closes your nose, just like D. If I say night and I say dite, my nose is closed. On an N, my nose is open. On a D, my nose is closed. So some singers vocalize on D, some vocalize on B. B is a closed M. My nose is open. If I go ba, now my nose is closed. So one thing we have to do as classical singers who sing over big orchestras and big theaters is we have to close the nasal cavity. It's in the Caruso book, about page 3. He said, never sing into the nasal cavity, period. How do I get above it? Some singers lift over it. The famous Max Lorenz, who was the great Helden tenor who sang in Germany during the war, did all the Siegfrieds and Tristans and Tannhäusers, the biggest roles. He used hung as the identifier, hung, and then he sang over it. Hung, ah. Now, all of these vocalises work if you do them all, but we have to understand what we are trying to do. We are trying to match, first we're trying to find our individual pure resonance. And no colors or anything. The voice is so fragile. If I do this, you see I'm barely touching my throat. I'm barely touching it. And look how changed the resonance is, the sound is. Anywhere in your throat. Half nasal. See? So the idea is to not touch your throat. In the old days, the first rule of the bel canto school was no action in the throat. If I breathe in a way that does that, I have to be careful because that's an action in my throat. Now if I sing that way, well, it's not my nose. Why is that a good sound? You know why? Because it's not my natural throat. My natural throat is the one that I have when I'm sleeping, snoring. So I'm going to go. Everything is now relaxed and everybody's doing nothing. So if you hear me going, I'm trying to close my nose and get my true resonance, but my vowel, my phonation is completely artificial. And if I go the other way, well, my nose is closed. What's wrong? Well, I can't, because it's still not the word ah in your natural relaxed throat. So this is the problem. I've got to find one. I like Bob, Bob, Bob. Da will work. There's a number of them that will work. But I like Bob, Bob because it's simple and easy. And it's the second letter of the alphabet. So you don't think very far. If you want me up. So if I go, ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. See, I'm not doing anything in my throat now. Look, ba 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 ba. Is that my resonance? Is my nose closed? Ba 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 ba. Yes. If I now think, if I do my pitch, my silent singing, my pitch vocalises, I go ba 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 la. Get it? So you need to find your bob. And when you get your bob, then you realize you're not doing anything, and everything is done from here down. There are no lifts, no pillars of the thoraces forward, no pinching the nose, nothing. Ba 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 ba. I really can't try to match the resonance until I can identify my resonance. So I'm going to try it again. B, 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 B. What do you think? I don't know. What do you think? I've sung hundreds and hundreds of performances. I'm telling you, it carries like a rocket if you get it. You know, I always talk about Leonard Warren. He used the pre-sneeze. Well, that's not purely a natural throat. It worked for him like a charm. He sounded magnificent, but he had a magnificent voice. So if he modified his phonation a little bit, you know, with that voice, nobody cared what he did, right? So, but it would have been better, at least in the bel canto tradition. It would have been better even if a great singer like him had not modified his throat. Somebody wrote into the program one day on the Texaco opera broadcast on Saturdays, and Leonard Warren was singing Vespertiliani or something, and they said, "Dear Mr. Warren, what note do you cover on?" So he's silence, and he thought for a minute. He said, Actually, my entire voice is covered." So there was no covering as a separate action because it was already there. Now, we got all these possibilities. I take a deep breath and pull in my belly and breathe in my lower back. I go. Now, every action is an equal and opposite reaction, so that went down and back, which means something must do opposite and equal. So some went up and forward. Guess what it was? My soft palate. So I go, Lord, there's my ba 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 ba. So I'm going to sing something and try to maintain my resonance, which means I've got to guard action, no action in the throat, and figure out some other way to sing, which makes me go from here down. See? I'm trying to maintain nothingness up here all the time. Invisible throat, invisible jaw, and invisible tongue. If I get my tongue back like that, pull my tongue a little bit. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. I can sing those. I can even match a kind of a tone, but it's not my natural tone. See? My natural tone is when my throat does nothing and I compensate for the lack of work and action up here by breathing somewhere and making the breath do the work and the action. And to do that, if I push my stomach out when I breathe, ba, 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 it opens my nose. Breathe in. See, I can sing that way, but if I want to get it out of my nose with my breath in my belly, but look at the modification I'm making my throat. Everybody thinks why it is so necessary to cover the passaggio notes. Why do I cover when I go up? Well, if your voice is in your nose, you have to cover because you can't sing high notes in that position. If I breathe out in my belly, you go ma 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 ma. There's no room. I can't sing. I've talked about this before at other tapes, right? And that is not my resonance. Unless I did this before I ever learned to sing, before I ever took a lesson. When I started, I talked like that. And of course, I couldn't sing high notes either, so I sang the bass. Isn't that funny? But if I pull my abdomen in, now it's somewhere else. It's above my nose, right? It's going up here someplace. My throat is doing nothing. My hyoid muscle is doing it. My hyoid bone isn't pulled up. Everything is absolutely relaxed inside my throat. And I go, ba 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 la 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 la. The whole idea is to do nothing so that I can match my resonance all the way up and down through my voice. Then I'm going to try to match my resonance when I'm singing, when I'm performing. Breathe. Ba, 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 ba. There it is. Big breath. Everything is somewhere else, not here. Gran Signore, rimerini l'amore per sogni verghi stellinaria. What do I do to find the resonance and then stay with it? Of course, by this time you've done all your pitch warm-up and all your pitch exercises that you're supposed to do. So all you have to do now is identify your resonance and then protect it and guard it. See? It's harder in some languages. Some languages want to constantly move you around. And Italian, of course, is the best. Probably the only better than that is a baby going and they don't change their resonance, and it carries like a rocket. Sounds like they're nasal. Except you realize they're not nasal. That sound, because they have little tiny vocal cords, is a very high piercing sound, but it's not nasal. See? If you imitate the whining child, I'm not fair, you make me go to bed, and I don't want to go to bed, and everybody else gets to stay with one TV's not fair, my voice is not nasal at all. See? So we have to be true to ourselves. You can't sound like a baby. You can't sound like anybody else. And you can't sound like some kind of Helden tenor when you're really a lyric tenor. I sang for Lawrence Malcourt, and I sang Lohengrin, which is the heaviest thing I could sing. He said, it was for the Helden tenor prize. And, money. And I was trying to win the competition, and I sang for him. And he said, you're not the Helden tenor. You're the lyric tenor. A Helden tenor must be able to do this. And so he went, sang a high C. And then he said, but you must also be able to do this. And sang a low C. I thought, oh, really? Well, so from that moment on, I forgot I thought I could fake my way through. You know what the danger is? You fool yourself. If you can fool all the people some of the time and some people all the time, and maybe you can get away with a certain amount of stuff, but you can't fool yourself. Those darn notes are coming. That orchestra's playing, 130-piece orchestra, and you're singing in the middle voice half the night. And you think, I've done it. I did several Wagner roles, and the biggest problem is voice. If I go ba 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 ba, I've got to sound like Tristan or Tannhäuser or Siegfried. I can't make it sound like Tannhäuser. It's impossible. The minute I add something like that, my voice can't be heard at all. At least the other way I can be heard like Otello's nephew or something. But no, you can't sound like those guys unless you have the voice for it, right? So how you identify your true resonance? You have a resonance that is yours. It is throatless, jawless, and tongueless. It is based entirely on singing somewhere else, which means you must breathe. All of the action and singing happens down here, right? If I breathe, ba 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 ba. Now what do I do? How to match my resonance? See, ba ba. You notice I didn't open my mouth. I didn't do anything. There's no action here at all. Nothing. I'm like a dead zone. Some of you probably remember we used to do breath stops. We did this one. Remember that? You'd go pa, ba, pa, ba, pa, ba, 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 ba. And the one that stops the breath was the one, that's what we were trying to learn, not leak air. But it also, you can identify the action. Ba, there it is. Ba, 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 ba. There's the action. Now, where's the reaction? Ba, 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 la. The action's up here. So all I have to do is maintain action, reaction, and sing between them. If I sing between them, there's nothing. It's a dead zone. Ba, what resonance is that? La, 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 la. Get the idea? So breathe behind you in a way that frees your throat. Always breathe in a way that, as a reaction to the breath, you get a tremendous vertical opening. And when you do that, then you go ba, 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 and that's your resonance. Now there are other ways that I can do things and still maintain a kind of a loose freedom, and I let this freedom move on down lower. It depends a lot on how much deeply I can breathe, doesn't it? But if I go, breathe and go, ba, 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 la, 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 that only passes, you're only allowed to do that if you can maintain the freedom. But it's one way to make the voice sound a little bigger and fatter. I used to use it in things like Freischütz and things, a lot of middle voice singing. You know, you sing, and then everybody comes up, oh, you're a hell of a tenor, you're a young hell of a tenor. Oh, God, now I made a mistake. Now nobody offers me anything now but you know, Wagner and Richard Strauss and big stuff, and guess what? I don't really have the voice for that. So I could get through stuff and be heard, you know, if it were not the big thickies, but the big thickies we call them. Forget those, man. So how do I identify my resonance? If you know, the secret to your resonance is looseness, no action. So I can sing with different resonances and colors as long as the tube stays unflexed. And if I flex anything, you hear that for flexes, all of a sudden it's beginning to diminish my resonance. See? So how do I identify my rep? I'm doing bob, bob, and that's what I'm going to use. And I breathe. Now, how far down did my looseness go? Ba, 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 ba. How far down am I? See? Breathe. Ba, 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 la. I'm not doing anything in my throat whatsoever. So anyway, I want to make this a little quickie to encourage people to find their original resonance and then sing that way. If you do a lot of crescendo work, and you start with some teeny weeny sound, take a big breath, always behind you, get so the front doesn't flex and do anything. Breathe. It pulls in and relaxes. Then I go. Turns out it's the same resonance. Okay? Anyway, that'll give you something to think about and play with a little bit, and stop doing things from the neck up. My old teacher, Olga Reese, used to say, cut off your head and throw it in a paper basket. Waste paper basket. It is resonated. It does not do any work at all. And it is true, isn't it? We've got vocal cords that vibrate, a pharynx that phonates, resonators that resonate, and none of them can sing. They're all helpless without a breath supply. And it's the breathing that makes you sing. Okay? Okay, bye.